Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me, my co-host, Phil Emery. How you doing, Phil?
I am doing very well. Very excited to be here yet again.
Awesome. Great to have you yet again. And in the extra co-host spot, we're happy to welcome the return of award-winning Boston-based singer-songwriter and music educator, Susan Catania. How you doing, Susan?
I'm good. And I am also glad to be here again.
Awesome to have you. We just missed you a couple weeks ago, and you're back again. And
Susan doesn't have a Boston accent.
Oh, because I'm from New Jersey.
Ah, okay.
Oh, that's right.
The other state that doesn't have an accent.
Hence your email address, which we won't broadcast on the air, but your email address alludes to that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
There you go. It's like you don't have a New Jersey accent.
I think it's because I'm from the northern New Jersey, where, I say like bedroom, room instead of room. And I say orange instead of orange. And I guess those are my two things that people are like, what did you just say? Orange juice. So, yeah.
Of course, wherever you're from, I don't think I have a Toronto accent. I have a Toronto accent.
Oh God.
We all have accents. It's just
we all do.
Where, we just don't notice it.
Mm-mm.
We don't notice it because we're surrounded by people with the same accent, so we don't think there's an accent.
Right.
Where I live now, people have some very heavy accents.
Yeah. The Newfoundland accent.
It can be hard for me to understand.
Wow.
What they're saying. So.
And vice versa, I'm sure.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's very Irish here. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, please send your comments and questions and accents to Song Talk Radio on Facebook or Instagram, or feedback@songtalk.ca for the email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode, to find links to resources we mention, and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. And this episode today is going to be all about the Songwriting Challenge. And just before we get into the meat of it, we still are welcoming our listeners and our meetup members and everybody and anybody. Tell your friends to submit your song to our Songwriting Challenge for this year, which is going to be wrapping up fairly soon. So if you haven't sent us your song yet, be sure to do it as quickly as you can. And of course, the challenge this year is to write a song in a mode, unusual mode, or mode you're not familiar with, not major or minor, people. And if you caught the show from a couple of weeks ago, I shared my answer to the challenge, had some great insightful feedback from Phil and from Susan, and I'm currently revisiting my song. I made some tweaks to it already. I'm still working on it though. It's gonna be another version, of course. And we're happy to say that we've received a number of submissions from our listeners already. So thank you so much, guys, for sending your stuff in, and stay tuned. We are going to be featuring your songs on upcoming episodes of the podcast. And of course, when you send in your song, obviously send us the lyric sheet with the chords, because we'd like to see the chords for this one, especially to see the mode that it's in, and tell us about the songwriting journey that you went on to create this song. If you found it difficult to work in a mode, if you found it interesting, or there was some kind of revelation through working through this process, because that's what we hope, is that this puts you a little bit out of your comfort zone, and at the end of the day, you may not write the greatest song, but you'll certainly learn something about yourself as a songwriter, and about a little bit about music theory, and about how it all goes together. And and like I was just saying, I didn't write the greatest song the first time around, but you can still exert some effort and make it another version and another version after that, and see where it lands until you're entirely happy with it. Yes. Even if after you revisit it, it then exits the challenge, it no longer meets the parameters of the challenge. Maybe you didn't like the modal thing, so I'm just going to take that idea for the song, the lyrical idea, and write a different song. Nobody's keeping track. We're not keeping score here. There's no winners and losers.
Well, and even what we call modal interchange, which means that you'll be in the middle of your song and there'll be just a moment where you go into a mode and then go out. The Beatles do that a lot. And so,
crazy, yeah.
Right. And so, even if writing in a mode, you're suddenly like, oh, I'm going to borrow this chord, shouldn't be in the key. that's cool. That's a cool technique to try.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing we're asking is that you do it on purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we've all done it by accident many times. I've done modal interchange as it's almost habit now for me to modal interchange something, but it's always just because I think it sounds cool, and that's really it. But this time I actually forced myself to stick within Lydian for the entire song, which was a different experience for me. Made me understand that mode a little bit more.
Nice.
Okay, so today we're going to be dissecting Phil's answer to the challenge.
Yes.
And we're going to be learning a little bit about his process, how he tackled this. So take it away, Phil. How did this challenge work for you?
Well, it was great. It was actually a real stretch for me. So I started off by watching all the wonderful resources that Neil's collected and put on the page.
Yeah. Right.
And definitely helped. I was working on one song, which I thought was in a mode, and I couldn't figure it out. And I even asked our big-brained guest, Jeff Greenway, who knows about this stuff. And it's the chords. It's in the key of E, it's like an E minor scale, but all the chords are major.
Okay.
And so I was going, well, like it didn't seem to sort of match any of the modes. And so I sent Jeff an email about it, and it sort of says, well, it's not a specific scale really, or you can consider an E major with a flat 6 major and a flat 7 major chord. It was kind of said he thought it might be Lydian with a flat 6 major chord, but so that was so I really liked it because I thought it was really cool, but I don't think it actually would work for this challenge because I actually wouldn't know what mode it was in, and no one could actually tell me what mode it is. So maybe it's not in a mode. Maybe it's just, it's what rockers do. It's like we only know how to play major chords, so we just play major chords everywhere. So maybe that was it.
Right.
So anyways, I went through all the various videos on the page, as well as a whole bunch of other ones on YouTube. And it was a great sort of introduction to the different ways of looking at modes. Mm-hmm. And I started off playing around with melodies, and that was okay, but nothing really kind of grabbed me. A lot of stuff was sort of doing, well, this sounds like an interesting thing because, it has, a flat 2 and a flat 3. But couldn't really get anything from that. But what I did find, which really, really helped me, was a page off of somewhere on the internet, and I'll post it to our page once I figure out where I got it from. But it has all the modes in the key of C, but it actually tells you what chords they are. Mm. And as a guitar player, because the way I write is I usually start off with chords, and then I'll come up with a melody, and then I'll do the lyric. That's sort of how I normally work. So being able to work with the chords directly really, really helped. And this was a lot of fun, but it also was a bit of a danger because I kept on working on one thing, and I thought, oh, wow, Dorian seems kind of cool. I wonder what Dorian's like. And then you work on Dorian for a while and go, oh, that's kind of cool. What's a Phrygian mode? And I kept on sort of going between the modes because they were all sort of here, and I wanted to kind of try them out. So I actually wound up going back to the one I started off with, which was Lydian. Mm. And Lydian has a sharpened 4th, which I thought was kind of cool. And one of the things with, I think, playing guitar, which I realized, is the way the guitar is set up, it can be hard to do certain kinds of chords because the notes tend to be fairly close to each other. And especially working with diminished chords, and a lot of the modes have diminished chords. And Lydian, the 4 chord is a diminished, F sharp diminished in the key of C. And that's kind of hard to make sound musical on a guitar, but I think it's easier on a keyboard or with some other more flexible voicing. because the sharpened fourth and the fifth, and the root will kind of grind to against each other if they're too close to each other. Whereas if you have space between them, they kind of work. So I decided to work on Lydian, and the way I thought about approaching this was to really lean into the thing that makes the mode the mode. So, whatever note is unusual in the mode, I would really concentrate. And the one bad thing about Lydian is there's only one note that's really off, which is the fourth.
Yeah.
So I knew whatever mode I would be working with, I would really sort of lean into that difference in the melody. And so that's what I did with this. So in Lydian, in the key of C, the one chord is a major, the two chord is a dominant 7, the 3 is a minor, the 4 is a diminished, the 4 would be, of course, sharpened, the 5 is a major, and the 6 and the 7 is a minor. So in Lydian, it would be C, D7, E minor, F sharp diminished, G, A minor, and B minor. And so I played around with a bunch of different approaches. And one thing that's very common in Lydian is to pedal on the root.
Oh wait, can I? Sorry, isn't the 2 a major?
Yeah.
2 is a major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
dominant 7 is mostly a major.
Yeah, but just so that's clear, because it can be a triad. Like it doesn't have to be a 7th chord.
That's true.
It's 1 major, 2 major, because that's a quality. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going.
It's one. So the 1 and the 2 are major. So pedaling, going between the 1 and the 2 while pedaling on the root is a very common Lydian thing. And so I did that, and then basically kept, even in the chorus, keeping into the Lydian mode, and going between the 3 and the 5, which is E minor and G, and then ending off the chorus with A minor and B minor. And it was kind of fun. It made me approach the chorus in kind of a different way. I tend to sort of make choruses kind of have a big jump or a big powerful. This kind of has a more of a I've been thinking of it as more of a back foot chorus, where it doesn't kind of jump up, but it just kind of feels a little bit pulled back, which I thought was kind of cool. And I realized that's something that Depeche Mode does a lot, which is something I really like. And it was it was a quality I always liked in their music, but I didn't really know how they did it. But I think that's how they did it. I think they might do a lot of mode stuff as well. And so what I did is I decided to start the melody in the verse and in the chorus on the sharpened 4, which is F sharp. And so I actually came up with a melody on the guitar, starting off with the F sharp. And I did have another melody for the chorus, but I really wanted to really lean into that F sharp. So the chorus is mostly just the F sharp and the G going between those 2 notes. So it's kind of fun. And then sort of did what I normally do with lyrics, which is kind of do a bunch of nonsense things until words start to sort of find their place. And I came up with On My Mind as the theme of the song, and sort of a song about a positive love song as opposed to a negative one where, sort of you get strength from your relationship, and it's still a bit rough. There's no bridge at this point. I think I would like to do some kind of a bridge at some point, but at this point, considering I think I've done ideas in about 4 different modes, I had to eventually choose one and stick with it. But this sheet really does help guitar players explore modes in a very kind of easy way. as opposed to trying to figure out the the melodies, and it can be a little bit more and be a little slower that way. So for a guitar player, this is a very quick way of doing it.
Nice.
So you're really focusing on that interval that makes the mode that makes Lydian Lydian.
Yeah, and I was doing that in Phrygian, sorry. And people always say that was very sort of not a very musical mode. But when I was working with it, it sounded quite musical, and I sort of thought maybe I was doing something wrong, so I kind of abandoned it. Because it didn't sound that off to me. Although I know Bjork has done some stuff in that, and it does sound kind of dark and
it is a little bit darker, I guess. Yeah.
But it was a really fun exercise, and I think I definitely came up with a song that I wouldn't have come up with before. But I'm definitely going to be doing more modal stuff now. Now that I have this magic sheet.
Nice.
Cool. Okay. All right. Should we take a listen to the song then?
All right.
Let's do it. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
But, rough. I realized the lyrics I sent you are a bit wrong.
A little bit off, yeah, but you're still tweaking, so that's cool. Yeah, right on. I don't know if it's just the quality of your voice, but it kind of reminded me more of Roxy Music than Depeche Mode.
Oh, that's cool.
When I was getting like don't you forget about me. No, like so Simple Minds, or hush, hush, keep it down now. Voices carry. Till Tuesday. Awesome. Woo.
FYI, the Simple Minds song is the only song the band didn't write.
Yeah, that's so bizarre.
It was their biggest hit, and it's the one song they didn't write.
Man.
It's so weird because it seems so simple-minded. I can't imagine anyone else writing that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, or performing it at least.
Yeah.
But cool. As you hear, like it pedals on the root.
Mm-hmm.
It goes from 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And it's basically all the melodies start on the F sharp.
The melody is so interesting and great.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yeah, even that little guitar lick you have in the verse and stuff is it's very unusual. and it's certainly it's got to be playing with that odd interval, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I think with the modes, if you really do lean into those unusual notes, I mean, that's kind of really, that helps it make it more of the mode.
For sure.
Because it's easy, I think, to write a mode, like to use these chords and then not sound like a mode, you know? But,
and it's true, your chorus does have a kind of pullback energy to it. It almost feels more like a pre-chorus.
Yeah.
Than a chorus until you land on because you're on my mind.
Yeah.
And then let it resolve and let it release a little bit, the tension. But when you hit the top of that chorus, it doesn't sound like a conventional top of a chorus. It sounds like we're still building tension. We're still building tension until the end of the chorus.
Which I would not have done normally. Like I would have made a normal chorus. But when I heard that, I thought, well, I really thought of Depeche Mode, because they do a lot of that kind of thing, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, I literally finished this off just before I sent it to you. So, so it's a little rough, but
which is perfectly fine. And listeners, take note: your songs do not need to be finished; they can be rough or rougher than Phil's.
Yeah, because I just there's no real production. I just did one guitar track and bass, synth, and some drums, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't need much to get an idea across.
Right on. Your impressions, Susan?
Well, first of all, I loved the melody of the song. The melody of the song was really interesting and different, and I thought that you really embraced the fact that kind of, if you think about the characteristic of Lydian, it's brighter, right? And so the fact that you chose to write a happier song, it still has a little bit of a wistful quality to it, but it's certainly like, I got the brightness of that mode. I thought that was really, really good. And I loved, we're lucky because we can look at the lyrics while it's going on, but I just want to say, like, the way that you extended the lines so that they weren't equal. If we look at verse 1, who can say where we'll go? Who can know how we'll falter? So we've already got like one extra syllable there. Then your second verse, which is the same melody as the first one, suddenly expands these lines out, and we get, who can be certain how we'll change, just hold in the end. So it's like a 3-line section, and you've extended line 2 and line 3 of the second verse. And I think that I felt that was so interesting. Yes, I could have heard a second verse that was exactly like the first verse, but the fact that you extended the line, when you do that in a song, your listener suddenly kind of pays attention, because it's like, wait, it's breaking from form. And I thought that was really, really cool. And then you have this really nice chorus that has 3 lines that kind of rhyme. So when the arrows fly and they land, ND. When the clouds fall down and we bend, ND. When the spy breaks, or sky or spy? Oh, when the spies break through, they can't win. So, and then because you're on my mind, and it's a tagline that's shorter than those other lines, and it has the ND in it, but it's a different vowel sound. And I think that we really hear that, and it's highlighted because of that. So super interesting choices that you made. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with all of your songs, Phil, but I thought this was really, really cool. Really cool.
Well, the song actually started off with being called "I Don't Mind," but that's not a very strong emotional, relationship. Well, this happens.
I don't mind.
Whatever.
That's funny. Yeah, that's really interesting, Susan, because it's like the odd line lengths and the breaking of form also lends to that building of tension.
Right.
Right, because you could only imagine if the verse was 4 lines and then the second verse was 4 lines, exactly
4 lines,
the same
length,
melodic
right?
structure, all that sort of stuff. It would feel much more resolved, and then we've come to a period at that point, and then we drop into the chorus. It might have felt more like a drop into the chorus,
exactly.
because right now it's just kind of easing into the chorus,
right?
Because we're just continuing with that tension. I think, the melodies, the line lengths, the chord choices, all that stuff, factors into that.
I think if you are going to do a back foot chorus, which doesn't announce itself as, like going to a 5 or, that kind of big jumps, is that you do need to break your lines beforehand to let people know something is coming.
I completely agree. And that's like would you say that again? Because a lot of songwriters forget that. And I think that that's something that people should like write down. Say what you just said one more time so that people can hear that. If you have a chorus that is sneaking in there.
If you want me to pay attention to what I'm saying, I'm going to ask for more money.
You have to break.
So normally choruses have a big jump, big energy, and they're bigger than the verse. If you're going to have a chorus, which is a back foot chorus, which is kind of a slow burn, maybe a little bit more reserved, you have to break the lines or bring in some kind of variation so people know that something is coming.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just turns into a longer verse.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
Super good point. The other thing that I thought was really interesting is I'm just going to read the first beginning and then the chorus. Who can say where we'll go? Who can know how we'll falter? Who can be certain how we'll change? Just hold in the end. When the arrows fly and they land, when the clouds fall down and we bend, when the spies break through, we can't win because you're on my mind. So notice that we didn't really have anything to look at until we got to the chorus section.
Oh.
So that's kind of interesting. When you have that happen, it means that I'm getting all feeling lines. And so I'm not going to be seeing anything, which gives me as the listener more of an opportunity to listen to the melody and the chords. So if you give me stuff to look at, I'm not going to pay as close attention to your melody and your chords. But if you give me lyric that is not image-based, because it's not going to conjure up things for me to look at, I'm going to be paying more attention to your melody. So I think you actually intentionally or unintentionally really highlighted the melody and the chords because the lyric isn't kind of doing the work for you in the first two verses.
Right. It's like having too many things happen.
Exactly. Thank you, Steely Dan. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steely Dan, man.
Yeah, this point has come up a lot lately on the podcast of simplicity versus complexity and how much stuff can you throw at the listener and what are they going to pay attention to? And if one element is really complex, then maybe the other element is dead simple, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I did consciously change the point of view. So, the verses are about sort of us, and then the choruses are about external stuff. So I wanted there should be some kind of change of something between the verse and the chorus. If it's just me, and then the chorus is me, I don't think it's as strong. One thing I did think about trying was something that U2 does, which I've never actually. Well, I kind of did it once, but using the talking about the person in a third person, like it's all right. She moves in mysterious ways. Using the word she, as sort of, which I've never done. Which I sort of tried to do, and I couldn't quite get it to work. But that might be. Again, it's always good whenever you're doing songwriting. It's I used to see bands, and bands would use some kind of musical thing or trick. I would go, wow, we don't have a song like that, and I'd go home and I'd try to use that trick because I haven't done it. So if you come across a song and you go, wow, I never used the word, I never talked about someone in the third person, it's a good way of giving yourself a challenge to go, okay, well, how do I write a song in the third person? I wasn't able to do it this way, and this is still very much of a me and an us song. Well, it is.
You could. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I mean, if you just changed that last line, when the arrows fly and they land, when the clouds fall down and we bend, when the spies break through, they can't win because she's on my mind.
Ah,
right.
That's nice.
So then, if you do that, then it's coming from
nice.
It's I and we and she.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, the we is a little bit, it's I and her, but it's also I and the listener. Like you're including the listener in the we. So that's just fascinating.
She's on my mind.
Yeah, that would totally work.
And that it makes the listener kind of like a buddy. Because you're like, hey, listener. You can't see, but I'm like putting my arm around an imaginary listener, being like, hey, listener, let me tell you about her. So you're kind of like, you're kind of enlisting them with you. But another thing, that's a really good point that you just made. Often when I finish a song or when I think a song is finished, I will re-examine my point of view and I will try a bunch of different points of view and see if one of them resonates more than other ones. So, what is the point of view? Does this really cool thing of changing, first of all, the intimacy of the song, but also, as I said, the relationship between the singer and the listener.
Yeah.
Because it's like sometimes the listener is in cahoots with you. Other times the listener is just watching you interact with someone else. And all of those are really good things to try when you're in your rewriting process. Which one? Do you want the song to be a story song? So it's the most distant emotionally? Is that something you want to do? Do you want to be the narrator, or do you, as the singer, want to be in the song? Or, there's second person, which is, it's you. Like you walk out the door, you say hi to her, you get on the bus, you say hi to him. So you're inserting the listener into the song as the you.
Right, yeah.
And so you're as the narrator, you're you stepped out of the song, which that's a really cool point of view to try as well.
Yeah, I guess there are other songs that do that. I can't think of one offhand.
Second person point of view?
Second person point of view, it's not very common, is it?
Well, I mean, there are a bunch. I have like a whole Spotify playlist of second. Yeah. I do. Captain Jack by Billy Joel.
That's true.
A-Team by Ed Sheeran. I'm trying to think, what are some other ones? I can share that with you guys afterwards.
Sure.
You can share
I actually did that on my songwriting challenge last year. I started it as a third person he song because it was kind of painful to write it. But that gave me the gateway into it, into examining the emotions and stuff like that. And then I flipped it back to I.
Let me just look here. Never on the Day You Leave by John Mayer. 24 Frames by Jason Isbell. Let Her Go by Passenger. Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac. Obvious Bicycle by Vampire Weekend. I have a bunch. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sure they're out there. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah. Like a Rolling Stone.
See them all.
Dylan.
Right.
Yeah. It's an interesting point of view because you're kind of like, I use it when I have something maybe super intimate that I want to say, but I don't necessarily want to be in the song myself because it feels like maybe too close. So second person is kind of like a way to have yourself in the song, but not.
With a little bit of distance.
A little bit of distance. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. So getting back to the Lydian thing, I've often heard that Lydian is used a lot in film scores, and it's kind of it's very it can be bright, but it can also be kind of dreamy. I think your song feels a little more dreamy than it is bright.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, kind of wistfulness and kind of that feeling. But it certainly does, like you say, like a Depeche Mode thing, or like a Roxy Music thing. Like it definitely puts you in a certain space.
Yeah,
that you're playing in.
Yeah, and I would not have done something like this in my usual way, because I don't tend to look. So it's such a great exercise, because otherwise, this is the whole reason to do these things is to expand your palette.
Yeah.
And you can watch videos, and that's really good, and we can listen to our podcast, which you should do. But there's nothing like sitting down and writing something and really forcing yourself to say, okay, well, I have to use this note because this note is part of the mode. Yeah.
Well, what do you think on a rewrite of this song, Phil? Would you then go back and make the chorus a little more like you would typically do it, like make a big jump into the chorus?
I'm actually quite happy with the chorus, actually.
Okay, cool.
I'd like to do a bridge, although I can't think of what it would be at the moment. And probably tighten up the lyrics. I mean, my lyrics are always the last thing I do. And I did try using AI for those.
Oh, did you really?
GPT.
Oh,
for the lyrics?
No.
Yeah,
but they're just really...
They're really ordinary.
They're really dull. Well, they're very... Well, because they are, right? They're just... there's no sort of interesting no different viewpoints. There's no... there's nothing original on it, but I mean, it will do it. It's amazing. You can say, write me a song about this using one-syllable words, and to see how it does it, and it will do it. But it's just I
remember when I was playing around with ChatGPT, I actually asked it explicitly, "Can you rewrite this so it's less cliche?"
And what did it do?
It tried. It tried, but then it just got obscure or silly.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense after that. It's like, okay.
I have not yet dipped my toe in that. I don't know. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
No, but I mean, I'll be honest. I was stuck. I went to it. It got me unstuck because it gave me. I took ChatGPT's verse, modified it a little bit. That gave me an excuse to write a bad verse. And then it gave me that gave me a melody, and that gave me the structure of the song, and I could at least finish that. And I can go back and rewrite the verses. That's fine.
Well, and
at least give me a gateway into it. That's all.
When it got you unstuck, then
got me unstuck. That's all. That's all.
And there's also lots of different. I mean, there's different games. Brian Eno does a lot of stuff. He uses dice, and he uses cards, and there's a card deck you could get for creative to sort of. Another way of getting yourself out of your own habits is by forcing you into these random rules, and it's a good way of opening your mind. And sometimes it's good to be able to throw something into a machine and have it spit back random stuff, and most of it you won't look at, but maybe it's like, oh, that's an interesting word. I've never used that word before, and then gives you something to work with.
In some ways, it's a little bit extended off of using a rhyming dictionary, because then you're just scanning through all the rhyming words and be like, oh, I didn't think of that word. That's kind of cool. And it relates to my theme. Okay, let's see if we can work with that.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. I think on the show we did with you, Susan, about writer's block, you talked about this bag you have of like random words. You just pick out two of them and join them at the
random words. And then I also have like the Benjamin Moore color chart. I'll pick a color and write on the color. I play a lot of kind of writing prompt games with myself. But I think the difference is that I'm finding creative to jump off and get inspired from that. I'm not asking something to generate something for me. And then jumping off.
Yeah, but for sure there is a difference.
I know, and I know it's here, and I know I'm going to be like the old lady in the log cabin who still writes songs the way they used to write them in the 1900s. But I think I feel like I might have said this last time. Like there's a process that you go through when you're working on a song, and if you eliminate the middleman, that middleman might have material in it that would have turned into another song or would have turned into another idea or maybe a poem or a short story. And if you go directly to the end, you didn't do any of the middle work to get there. So you didn't have this little kind of creative exploration. Which
and you can make the same argument for samples and loops and all the musical tidbits that people just drop in without doing the work to create them in the first place.
You're right.
And do they fit and do they work? And
however, you can do that in an intelligent and thoughtful way.
Of course.
A piece of
and you can say the same thing about using ChatGPT.
Well, and I think that's the way. I mean, I think, the technology is here. People are going to use it. People are going to use it to make really crappy music, but there are also going to be people who are going to find ways to creatively make it work for themselves.
Yeah.
If you think about, there's an artist called Grimes, Grimes, who's just she's very, very open to whatever the newest technology is. So she made, for example, a video and then gave all of the elements of the video out into the world. So anybody could put a song to her visuals. Anybody could use her. She gave her cutout on a green screen so that anybody could build whatever background they wanted. And I think she has been one who's been saying, whatever you take my songs, use Chat GPT, do whatever you want with it. Mm-hmm. And so I think, there are people who are going to find amazing creative ways to use this new technology. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think that'll be the case. And it's not a new thing that people are writing bad music and people are writing good music.
Exactly.
Is that going to change much?
Well, as I always like to point out, people say that music was better in the old days. In 1976, the number one and number two singles in North America were Disco Duck. Disco version of Beethoven's Fifth. So, David Bowie was part of the, I think, top.
Okay. Good for David Bowie, but disco rules, man.
Yeah. Well, I was reading. Oh, sorry.
Well, one thing about using any of this Chat GPT or AI stuff is that there's been a ruling in the U.S. that this stuff is not copyrightable. So, depending on what you want to do with it, they're sort of saying that's one of the issues about having AI write scripts is the scripts are not copyrightable.
So if ChatGPT writes the most brilliant lyric ever, anybody can just pick it up and use it.
Well, technically, I guess, until, all these things have to be legislated out. But that's there's one ruling on the books now that kind of usually gives the direction of, in the U.S., that's where most of the stuff will start from, and that's where it's at now.
I read an article about Peter Gabriel, who's he has always kind of embraced whatever the newest technology was. And I can't remember the specifics, but the gist was, he's like, we can't, the Pandora's box is open. So it's out. We got to use it. And his concept, I think it was, he's like, what if you could have, your audience come and you could synthesize their heartbeats and write a song on the spot using all the different heartbeats of the people in your audience.
Wow. I
mean, that's like a really cool way to kind of think about incorporating this new technology. So, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. It's worthwhile looking into it. It's kind of fun to sort of see what it's like. And maybe it'll work for you. Maybe it won't. Who knows?
Maybe that'll be our next songwriting challenge. Write a song with ChatGPT.
Well, or I think there's going to be a way that people are going to find a cool way to use it. I'm hoping, and then we'll be like, oh, of course, yeah. Maybe.
But anyways, a very fun exercise, and I encourage everyone to do it. And even if you come across this podcast, next year, and we're still around, planet Earth, that is.
Haven't blown up the planet yet.
Yeah, you can still send us your mode songs, and we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, or any of our previous songwriting challenges. I mean, we just want to hear your stuff.
That would be awesome. Yes, that's always great.
It's never too late to try a mode.
No,
no, absolutely not.
It adds a whole different. It's like trying a different food. It adds a whole different taste to your palate.
Kind of a la mode.
Yes.
A la mode.
He's a quick one.
That's going to be here all week.
This is just some of the fine entertainment value we provide every week here on Song Talk.
And do not forget to leave a tip. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I think that's about all the time we have on Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to Phil for sharing your approach to this wonderful challenge. And of course, once again, we are still receiving submissions from our listeners, and upcoming in the next several weeks, we will be featuring our listeners' songs. So keep them coming in, and we will do literally as many episodes as we need to get through everybody's answers to the challenge, and give us a little paragraph about what you went through, and we'll read your emails on the air, and check out your songs and provide a little feedback and a little bit. And the last year it was so much fun, Phil, doing the listener song episodes. It was so great. We have so many amazing, talented people out in our audience, and the incredible thing is, the one prompt can generate such different answers.
Oh yeah.
Even last year's was a title. Everyone came up with such different answers to writing off the same title. It was amazing.
Oh, yeah. So much fun. These are good things.
Okay, and we do want to hear from you in general. So please send us your comments, Facebook or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio, or send us an email, feedback@songtalk.ca. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes. And subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. You can find links to all the products and books and web services we mentioned on the show on our resources page on the website. And please join us at our next monthly Song Talk meetup, whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend the meetup, bring a song and a lyric sheet, and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. And the last one was just yesterday, wasn't it, Phil?
It was great. And actually someone had them play their mode song. It was really cool, and it was in Lydian and totally different than mine, which is so cool.
There we go.
Very proggy.
Cool. All right. And then they're submitting it to the show as well?
I believe so.
All right. Awesome. And you can follow me at neilmodi.com. You can follow Phil.
PhilEmery.ca.
And Susan, what's your favorite social?
SusanMusic.com or @SusanCMusic on Instagram.
Cool. We'll send our listeners that away, and be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on writing.
Yay!